we're back for another week of trading, and last week we did end up having a pretty clean week where we took some nice dubs, especially near the end of the week. So the goal for this week is just to stay consistent with those good habits that secured us those wins from last week. There is a bit of news, but nothing I really have to worry about. But yeah, I think recently it's been going pretty good with maintaining the patience to wait for clean setups, and I did recover pretty nicely from that horrendous week a few weeks ago, so that's really clean. So yeah, let's just see how this week went. Alright, so start of the week, and yeah, we're just dropping, like proper chop. Price is just bouncing around, not really doing anything clean, and we did end up getting a pretty aggressive drop though. Probably some news behind it, but it got bought up pretty much instantly, and that reaction left a pretty nice wick on the higher time frame. So for a second I'm thinking like, okay, buyers might actually have something here, and it looked really decent, I'm not gonna lie. But then you zoom in and it's like, what is this, bro? Like, price action is just looking really ugly. The candles are weak, there's no real conviction in anything, so there isn't really anything that I can really chew on here. And to be fair, it is Monday, so market open didn't really do too much, which is expected. No news means just low volume, and yeah, it's chill. So at this point, I'm just like, alright, no need to force anything. I'm just gonna chill and do my assignments while I wait for macro, which is around 11:45, and you know, we'll see if we get anything cleaner. And macro starts rolling in, and we do get a bit of volume coming in as well, and then it just gets smacked straight back down. And bro, at this point, I'm just staring at the chart like, bro, what am I actually watching right now? Like, this thing is moving like a barcode. But heading into macro, which is usually where things should get moving, we finally get a little push from buyers, and for a second I'm like, wait, this could be it. Is this the break that we've been waiting for? And it almost goes, and then yeah, it just dies again. Barely fails the break, and at this point I'm not even mad, I'm just done, bro. So nothing clean, nothing convincing, and it's definitely not worth forcing. So yeah, lucky I just walk away here and just call it a day. Alright, so Tuesday, and yeah, price just kept pumping up the entire day. Like, no hesitation, just straight buys. It was actually kind of crazy, and I'm not gonna lie, to me it felt a little bit overextended to the buy side. We have been pushing up for a while now, barely with any pullbacks. So yeah, as long as it's still on the table, the bullish pressure is clearly there, but I really do want to see a pullback first. So when price started to slow down a bit here, I'm like, okay, this is more like what I wanted to see, but I'm still not jumping in just yet. I want to wait until market open and, you know, just let this session highs and lows form and just get a clear idea of what price really wants to do. Now market open comes in and we push straight through the London highs. It gets instantly smacked back down. So at this point I'm like, yeah, this is a bit messy. This could turn into a pullback from here, and then out of nowhere price just rips up to the buy side again. Like, bro, what? So now we got a clean continuation forming, which is nice, but for me personally, I still need to see that pullback. And I'm not trying to trace into this move here, and yeah, price just kept on going. No pullback again, it's just straight momentum. And volume was kind of crazy here. We ended up just continuing to push higher, and at this point I'm basically out of it. I know it might seem like I called it pretty quickly, but there are a couple of reasons that I did decide to get out at this time. First, it was already getting late for me. You know, we're past midnight. And second, after macro, volume usually starts to die down anyways, and we still haven't gotten a pullback that I needed. So for me, there isn't a really clean entry, nothing worth forcing, so I have to just leave it alone and call it there. Okay guys, so Wednesday was a day where I decided not to hop on because I had work at 6 a.m. in the morning. I want to be able to rest up and preserve my mental as well as I can. So yeah, the news was, it was ADP non-farm employment change. So to be honest, I don't have any like data on that one for me. So because of that, I'm just going to do a little bit of a back testing session just to see how well it went. You can see this day we were really bullish throughout the entire Asia and London session. We got a nice pullback near the end of pre-market, and we retested into this hourly gap as well as this 15-minute, and this was a really clean level to retest into. We can see that we had a 5-minute order block formed from market open, and then we got a retest into the equilibrium of this range, and then we continued to push up from there. This was one idea that I could have gone with. Another idea was that I could have waited for the macro or 15-minute candle to form, and that would have confirmed the 15-minute order block, and that would have been a bit more cleaner for me. But the thing is, if I waited for this 15-minute order block, it would have been past my trading time because I would only trade up to about 12 at most. So this would still be chopping around by that time. So yeah, that's the reason why I don't usually trade like in between, like later on, because this little gap in between 15 minutes after macro and I don't know however long, because I don't look into it, but usually there's like less volume. So maybe if I took it from this 5-minute order block, it could have been something that would be clean. Like maybe if I took it off the 1-minute inverse here. The thing is, I wouldn't really have liked this setup because the 1-minute inverse here, it wasn't strong power, so there wouldn't be any real, it wasn't like a real clear indication for me to get in. A real clear one probably would be this 1 minute here, but you can see that this one didn't end up playing out because we just pulled back and then we just kept chopping until we eventually lost the trade. So yeah, I guess today was a day that was good that I avoided because, you know, it was technically a clean setup. If I waited, if I could trade past like my allowed trading time, I could have waited for the 15-minute retest and then let price do its thing. Because I can see here, like we did end up coming down and we chopped around. We didn't create any sell side imbalances on the 5-minute, so that would have been some indication already that we could push higher. And then we were still respecting this 5-minute order block as well, internal soup, and then we just push higher from there. So that would have been a pretty clean setup, but yeah, it's just a shame that I couldn't take it. So it's all good. This day was, I think it was pretty alright price action, but yeah, maybe in the future, I'll just see how these days go in the future. Alrighty, so price action seems to be pretty good today. We had a push up through Asia and a nice rebalance during London. We are maintaining a decent bullish bias for all of this, with price currently getting a beautiful retest into the support over here. And the high time run does overall seem to be quite bullish too, though we do have a wick sweep, which I do need to be careful of. But to be honest, we should still be bullish unless the low time frame proves us otherwise, which is why we just got to be patient and let price do its thing. And price action was just being boring as hell, I ain't gonna lie, because we just ended up chopping around the whole time. And honestly, I was ready to call it quits once this massive push low just came out of nowhere. But there was this one opportunity that I saw with market stalling and creating a SMT for me to work with, and we ended up taking out the majority of the sell side lows, and with those orders filled, we ended up gaining back that buying momentum that I wanted to see from the beginning. And it did take a bit, but we did end up getting some nice displacement higher on the 1 minute, and that's where I could finally get into this setup. But honestly, price just wanted to do something devious to me, because I guess we just immediately reversed. But price ended up collecting up really nicely, so we got the volume coming in to save us. And this was honestly pretty crazy, but yeah, the pump up came at the perfect time. I did end up trailing, since if we did revisit lower, that would just mean that the buy volume was fake, so the setup wouldn't be valid anyways. But we did end up just continuing to pump up nicely, and I did end up moving my target a bit closer at 1-to-1, since honestly from the price action earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if we just got another push down after taking out this high. And price quickly moved to hit my TP for a pretty clean win today. I am pretty happy with how things played out. I was patient to wait for the price to retest into the 5-minute order block and take out the sell side draws. I didn't expect the sell-off to be that strong, but it did end up working out nicely in our favor. It was just a really clean setup overall, and I do think that the improvement would just be letting price run to Asia next time, since volume was pretty powerful. But to be honest, I don't really mind my judgment for today. It was getting later into the session and the previous price action was pretty weak, so I do find it fair enough that I did take the trade out at 1-to-1. You know, going for base sets isn't a bad thing either. Though this is probably something that I also need practice on more, just knowing when I can let my runners run and do its thing. Alrighty boys, so Friday is another day that I did not trade because of the news that was present today. So we had average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change, and unemployment rate. I think it's like NFP or something. I don't actually know what it's called, but yeah. Pretty much what ended up happening throughout this entire day is that we had a strong push up. We had a retest into this hourly order block. High time frame at that moment, since we didn't have this candle, it looked pretty prone for a reversal since we had this strong wick off, but we are still respecting buy trend. And on the low time frame, we can see that we did break through this block, but we also respected this one. So because of that, we had to be more careful if we wanted to take a long here. But what ended up happening was that we just ripped up during market open. This would have been harder to see. Like 5-minute, it would have had this massive expansion higher, and I mean that would have, I guess, firm like we're going to continue pushing higher. Maybe if we waited till macro, we can, you know, enter off here, but I would more likely want to see a retest down first before getting a buy up, and then from there I'd probably just not take a trade today, because waiting for the down move down here into a push higher is not really realistic for being so late into the session for me, and because of that I would have not traded for today. So yeah, I mean it's a good thing that, you know, I didn't hop on. I could have been faked out pretty badly with this reversal, so you know, it's yeah, I just got to be careful in these days. Alright, pretty quiet week for me as I didn't end up finding any good setups at the start of the week. I did end up catching that pretty decent dub on Thursday that I could have maybe ran for more, but that trade was honestly really clean already. And this week does recover us nicely, so yeah, we're just doing pretty good. And I just gotta keep this up, man. You know, just waiting for proper patience to wait for price to form and do its thing and to not get caught up in the noise. And the trades in my model will just play out over time. It's my job to just execute them when they do appear and letting them do their thing without letting my mental affect any of the statistics. And I think this recovery was pretty fast because of the fact that I focused more on the patience aspect as well as letting go of the need to be right. And from what I realized from the reflection, I ended up getting back that need to be right the more I progressed further. So, you know, going back and actually looking at what I need to improve did help with me being even more patient and even more strict with what I wanted to take. And it's a clean lesson that I can always come back to and learn from, because I know as I continue to push higher, other challenges will be waiting for me as well. And what I gotta do is just continue with good patience, let things play out over time, as well as keeping my mental in a great spot so I can always tackle things with the best possible mindset. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this week's video. So actually tell me about your guys' week in the comments, and if you guys have any questions, I want to test my knowledge to see if I can help give people advice. So yeah, I will leave it there. I'll see you guys all in the next week. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Peace.